Hi, I'm Perry. Welcome to Retro Positive Review. Today we're reviewing Air Fortress for the NES. Alright, Retro Positive Review is back after a couple of years of hiatus. But I never intended that to happen, but it did. Hopefully this time I'll continue to make videos for longer than what I did last time. Anyway, today's game is Air Fortress for the NES. This game is something that I never heard of before, so you're going to be joining me here on the first time I've ever played this game. It is a game that came out in Japan. It was produced by HAL Laboratories. Came out in Japan for the Famicom 1987. It came out later, just over 2 years later in the United States, 1989, and in Australia in 89 as well. Now, as far as I can find, it was only ever released on the NES, and this is a pretty interesting little game. I've never heard anyone talk about it before, other than just a few people recently online. So I went and checked it out, and sure enough, it was pretty decent little game. It combines a couple of different genres pretty well. It's pretty fun. The difficulty is not bad. You can kind of jump right into it, and it ramps up a little bit, but it's pretty good. So let's just go check out a little bit of gameplay footage. We'll show the intro and the first level, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the game. Okay, so here's the intro to the game. A little visual to start. Music's not terrible in the intro. I like it. HAL Laboratories. Okay. And then you get this little readout of the plot of the game. Basically, you're protecting a planet called Farmel. You get a new ship called the Light Ship. There are these air fortresses, or air fortress, destroying civilizations. You have to save your civilization. It's pretty standard stuff for this era of gaming. Your character's name is Hal Bailman. You got a new light blaster and armored suit, you know. Now, if you have to pause if you want to read all that, I always have to pause because that stuff scrolls by way too fast for my reading speed. Okay, we're showing level 1 here. They show a little bit of level map to start off with. You can see there are 8 different air fortresses. Okay, and it starts off, you are on a shooter part of the level. It's pretty standard for a shooter right at the start. Anyone who's played one will be familiar. Now, the one thing I did have a little bit of an issue with right off the bat, it's not a huge thing, is it was a little bit difficult to tell what was background and foreground for a couple of things. Like there, you see that yellow asteroid there? That one you can kind of tell, but there are a few off by themselves that I did run into a few times. And right there, bam, I thought that was part of the background. But it's not a big deal. You get basically three lives on these parts. What this part of the level is for is to collect these little B and E bubbles that you get from shooting different things, and they give you energy and a special weapon later. There's another thing there. I didn't realize, like the first one of those I shot and nothing came out of it, and then I ran into the second one thinking, oh, maybe it's a collectible, because it doesn't really look like the other bad guys, but it's like, you'll make the mistake once, you won't make it again. It's not a big deal. So this first part of this level is very short. Right there, the computer just took over control of my ship, and I'm landing. Now your guy gets off his little light ship here and proceeds inside the space station. Then the game changes into like it's kind of like a platformer, a little bit of an adventure. There's a little bit of puzzle, not much of that, but more like a maze. Not in this first level, there's no maze here. And I guess it's kind of like a run and gun a little bit. It's just like a unique little mix of things. Pretty fun. It's got bright colors, nice graphics, a little cartoony, but looks good. You have this little guy in his spacesuit here. He's got a jetpack, and it's like some kind of little blaster gun. I'm not sure if the B stands for blaster or bazooka or bomb or whatever. But that's your more powerful gun. I didn't realize. This is my very first playthrough that you're watching right now that I ever played on this game. Now, I am using the blaster, or whatever it's called, not realizing that you need to save that for later enemies and things that cannot be killed, or at least not easily killed by the regular gun. I think I get through this level just fine, but when you collect those little B bubbles, it boosts that more powerful weapon. The E meter works in 3 different ways. It's 1, it's your life. 2, it is linked to the jetpack. So when you use the jetpack, that number goes down. And so if you're using the jetpack and you're in the air, that number goes down. And it's also your health. So if you get shot while you're in the air, you can die even though your meter hasn't gone down all the way. Because the jetpack has temporarily brought it down. So it's kind of more dangerous to fly than it is to stand on the ground. And also, every time you fire, your E meter goes down a bit. So it's 3 different things. But this game is pretty easy to control. I mean, it's NES game. You got A and B. A fires your... I think it's A. That's how I have my controller set up here anyway. A fires the B, oddly enough, the bomb, whatever. And then B just fires your regular weapon. And then the direction pad is like what you use to control your jetpack. And it's very floaty, but it's supposed to be when you're using your jetpack. So it feels very natural. And I'm surprised I never heard of this game back in the day, because this is a pretty fun game. And I would have enjoyed having this in my collection, or at least having it as a rental for a time or two. Those butterfly bad guys that you see, that guy right there, those are the hardest ones in the first level. They're not too difficult. They just have a bit of an erratic flight pattern. And same as the shooter part at the start of this level, this part is pretty short. Like many NES games, the first level is pretty easy and shorter than other levels to come. So I think a few people may have played this first level and quit because they thought the game was too easy. Because, like, here's the reactor, I have to shoot this out, and then this first level is over already after this part. And this is my very first time playing. Like, it was super easy to beat this. I had no idea how the controls work. I still beat it. Really intuitive to figure out. It's very simple. But going forward, it's going to get much more difficult. So you get on your little ship. You escape the fortress before it gets destroyed. Much like many other games of this shooter genre. Alright, now, as I've stated a few times, or will state a few times throughout this video, I'm sure, I wish I had known about this game before, because 1, it's sci-fi, which is up my alley. 2, it has all these genres combined, so it's almost like getting a couple games in one in that way, if you look at it in that way. But this is a good game to play when you're by yourself, because it is single player. it's just I guess you'd call it a story game. The stories were pretty limited back then. You just play through the game by yourself. There's no multiplayer at all, but that's fine. This type of game really wouldn't lend itself that well to multiplayer, I don't think. It would just slow the experience down. The atmosphere of the game is pretty good. The only thing that really annoyed me in this game at all was sometimes when I had to repeat levels, the music was a little bit annoying to hear over and over again. So I don't think the music was great in the game. The rest of it was either pretty good or really good, I thought. Except graphically, it's just kind of plain. I mean, it's an 87 game. It's not like a 90s NES game. And it's not like very beautiful graphics, but they are nice. Color palette's nice. I think you'll enjoy this game. Okay, so here's level 2. And again, it shows you the map. And you can see the first one is darkened out and it has been destroyed. You're on level 2. And you get thrown into another shooter level. Or a shooter part to the first part. That's the first part of the level. And the difficulty ramps up somewhat here. You're going to see a couple different bad guys. Like these guys here, if you miss one of those, they will circle around and come back for like a second chance at you. So that's mostly what makes this more difficult. And these bubbles are placed, see I hit the wall there, they're placed in more difficult areas to purposefully make you have a bit more of a challenge in getting your stats up for the next part of the level. Now, other than the slight increase in difficulty, it's not really that different from the first level. It looks very similar. Things do change later on. They add more enemies, things get more difficult. Those guys that circle back later on, I believe it's in stage 3, they actually shoot at you as well, and different things like that. It just gets progressively more difficult. But never to like a degree that's unfair, I find. So you can see this stage here is a bit longer than in the first level, and that will continue on. Like they'll be longer as the game progresses. The first one is really the only one that's very short. So here you are, or here I am, done this part, going into the station. So we're gonna go all the way through this level. I'm just gonna show you these first couple levels here, and then you can discover the rest of the game for yourself if you want, because this is a pretty fun game. Like, this is a game where the graphics really don't affect it. Like, the old, being so old doesn't affect it because it's just fun anyway. And this might be a game that you play on like a cell phone or something now, like just for fun. And it doesn't need to look that great, but for the time it looks pretty decent. You know, we're talking 80s. So the fact that it actually seems to have a decent color palette and is pretty clear, like you can make out more or less what everything is supposed to be. Now, one thing, the music is, it's not terrible, but it is a little bit grating after a while if you have a level where you have to take multiple attempts at doing it. Like it can get kind of annoying a little bit. Those things there that are flashing at the bottom, those are using some sort of like tractor beam to pull you down. And you have to kind of decide what to use your big gun on, because there are some bosses that, or like different enemies, different things that shoot at you that pretty much can only be destroyed. I don't know if they can be destroyed by the regular gun, but if they can, they take so many shots that it's really not worth it. Like you saw those blue bricks before, now you see these white ones. If I want to shoot these white ones out, I gotta use the big gun. If I shoot the blue ones out, I can use the regular gun. So you just kind of don't want to waste the big gun shooting on an inanimate, like unmoving object that's not going to hurt you. It's just kind of making your path a little bit more difficult. Probably want to save it for things that actually shoot it. And this is not an unfair game. Like every time you get hit by something that isn't brand new, like isn't a new bad guy that's introduced in this level you haven't seen yet, it's your fault. Like you can go through this game, I'm sure people have done it, without getting hit by anything. I would likely never do that, but I could see it being done. I always like, for some reason when I'm playing this game, I want to kill every single bad guy that I can actually kill. I don't, for some reason I just don't like passing by them. I don't know. Now you're going to see in a minute here, this level introduces the first kind of maze part to the game. Like right now it's going up and down and back and forth in different directions, but I mean there's pretty much only one way you can go. Nobody's really gonna have a hard time figuring out what to do. But there are branching paths that you'll see coming up shortly. So here right there at that little blinking lens, a shuttering lens there, that you seem to not be able to destroy, or at least not very easily with the regular gun. I've never destroyed one with the regular gun. I've always just used the big gun, or if I didn't have the big gun, I bypassed it. Those little orange things they shoot at you, they can actually, if they miss you, they'll turn around and come back at you, just kind of like the bad guys in the shooter part. And it seems to happen like more to a higher degree the farther you go in the game. And that may just be because there's more of them later and it's easier to notice. I'm getting lit up there. But this level I did not make it through on my first try. I was killed maybe twice before I beat this level, I think it was. Still, difficulty not too bad, it's just there is a surprise later. Okay, so here's the branching path. Now this time I took the right side because I knew the left one leads to my ship, but my ship is locked behind a door and I can't get out until I destroy the generator at the end. Well, you see right there I got crushed by those gears, and that's kind of a nice thing. A lot of games, when you get hit by a part like that, it's going to be an insta-kill no matter how much life you have left, but this one, it just drained the life down, which I felt to be pretty fair. Maybe overly fair, because you probably should get an insta-kill there, but this game has hard aspects, but it's fair in its hardness, and its difficulty. Okay, so you're going to see the surprise in a second here. Oh, no, this isn't the part. It's coming up shortly, though. And you'll see why I died. Basically, they just introduced a new bad guy, and I was not ready for it. And it killed me the first 2 times that I attempted to pass this part. Mostly because I was trying to kill it with, see there, it's another space guy in a suit. That time I shot him with the big gun. The other 2 times I died because I was trying to take him with the regular gun, and he shoots back. And he doesn't have to avoid the other things on the screen shooting at him, so he's got a distinct advantage over me. Now you can kind of hear it's like a countdown for destruction of the ship, reminiscent of Alien. So you will see the screen start to like kind of shake a little bit as it gets closer to destruction time. The level's darkened, which is kind of cool because you've destroyed the power source of the ship, so it's running on emergency power. Little details like that don't seem like much, but back then it was a nice touch, you know. Not all games put stuff like that in. Now here, luckily, there's another maze. If I'd gone up there, I would have gone away from my ship, but I already knew that this was the way to go. Now I'll go to the left. It's actually, since there's no timer earlier in the game, like now the ship's getting ready to explode or whatever, but before, earlier in the game, there's no timer, so if you went left and just destroyed all this stuff before you backtracked and went right, when you had to come here at this point in time, all the stuff would be destroyed, but as you can see, I got out fairly easily. Make your escape, same as the first level. And yeah, that's that. Okay, here in the scoring, as I said, the graphics are decent. The controls, really, really good. The controls are the best part of the game, really. It feels super responsive. Like, the jetpack really feels like a jetpack should, at least in a side-scrolling 2D NES game. It's about as good as they could have done it. You have multi-directional control while you're going through the air. The controls are floaty, as I said, but it's supposed to be that way. That gives it the better realistic feel for the situation. It kind of feels like a low gravity environment, which it likely is since it's in space, inside of a space station. And your guy keeps his suit on the entire time, so one would assume that the aliens don't have the same atmosphere as we do, but that I'm just reading into that myself. I had fun playing this game. I think you'll have fun playing it. It's not going to be like Mario 3 or something like that. It's not going to blow your mind, but you're going to have fun. And if you're like me, you're going to wonder how this game never got talked about back in the day, or at least if it did in your circles, I guess you're lucky. But for me, never even came up at all. So recommending, like the recommendations for who should play this game, it's actually a good game for newer gamers to the retro game scene to get into, because it has a bunch of the old genres and none of them are really overpowered in the game. Probably the shooter is like maybe the best represented, I don't know, but it's really not too much of any of the genres. None of them are that difficult. Like, you'll go through the game, you're going to have a bit of a hard time towards the end, but you're going to get through it. And you're going to have a fairly quick adaptation to how the game plays. Like, it's very intuitive. And for retro gamers who are experienced in this genre or were around back then, you're going to enjoy this game because it's likely one of those games that got passed over, missed out on, like it was for me in the 8-bit era. I had no idea this game even existed. This is a game I just discovered maybe in the last 10, 20 days. I can't remember when I watched the CGQ video. I'd watched the video before, but I must not have picked up on that one part. Maybe I was doing something else when I was watching it. But I went and checked it out after seeing it on there, and I read about it online from a few other people. It's a pretty decent little game. You don't have to play it in one sitting either. It gives you like a password save system. You type in the password, you can load from any of the 8 levels and go from there. So and the password is simple and short, because you don't get any special items. Like when you start the level, you just start with your 3 lives in the shooter part. You go through it, get your level ups as you go through the shooter for the rest of the game. The part where you're going through the actual air fortress, and then that kind of determines how you're going to have to play. You know, if you don't do very well in the shooter part, you're going to have less life and whatnot in the other part. So go ahead, check this game out. I give it my blessing, and I think you'll have a good time, just like I did.